doing?
Hey, what's up?
We are officially live, guys. This is second episode of our Upstream podcast for BerryFlow. We are here today with Alex, Brandon. We got Trill over there on the end as well, Mr. Darius Stokes himself, and of course James. A lot to talk about, actually. This last week's been one of those weeks for BlackBerry that you only get like 4 times a year when there's actually some news to bring about. And
Robust.
Robust. Our guy Chen kind of surprised us, showing us off those devices at the earnings call. But let's start. Let's start at the beginning. On Sunday rather, we did our first Upstream podcast. So if you didn't see that, definitely go check that out.
Yes.
Monday was a pretty good day. I mean, that podcast on Sunday was pretty packed. We were packed to the gills full of people, and so if you got through that first episode, congratulations on that. So on Monday, we saw that on eBay they had actually put up for sale an unreleased Copy device. It was a kind of Q5, looks like another version of what the Q5 was, with a removable battery, and it looks like that actually sold online for about $500. Would you guys shell out that kind of money for a device like that when you can go buy a Q5 for $350?
Yes, I would not shell out $500 because that was terrible. That's terrible. Like, I don't know anyone who would do that, and when you can buy a Z30 for that much. But
when you think about it, $500 isn't even like. Usually for like devices that like never saw the light of day, it's like a one-off situation. You'd expect them to sell for even more, but I mean, even for $500, I mean that's not even that high of a price. So I think that says enough there. And
it sucks because like there's no like product support or anything. Like you can't buy another battery if your battery craps out.
Exactly. Like
I mean, you can, but you got to like talk to some people. You know, like hey.
I hope they know them.
You go to BlackBerry for support and then they confiscate it.
They send the legal team after you. No. But no, it also, earlier in the week, it was a big week for BBM overall. They won Best Chat Application over in Indonesia. So good to see that the momentum for the chat application is still strong over there as well.
Well observed.
Yeah. How do you guys feel that they were launching the update for BBM on iOS and Android before BlackBerry 10? We just got our update earlier this week on, I think, Tuesday or Monday for that BBM Protected update, which brought a couple other features as well. How did you guys feel about putting Android and iOS first?
Okay, it kind of makes sense in a way because they really want to get more people on Android and iOS. Does anyone know the breakdown numbers exactly? How many are BB10 and how many are Android iOS? Or
probably 20 million Android iOS, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
It was like 60 million before cross-platform, and then I guess 20 million afterwards, and I'd assume 20 million are from Android and iOS because if you have a BlackBerry 10, you're most likely using BBM.
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult to wait, but at least they gave us the wallpapers. A little bit of a nice perk, I guess.
Yeah. iOS and Android have it now, though, eh?
Wallpapers?
I think they have the wallpapers, don't they?
I don't think they
or
do.
Was it that the wallpapers look like the iOS wallpaper?
Yeah, they do look like the iOS wallpapers.
That was it.
Well, so I haven't even. My wife, she has an iPhone. I didn't even check hers. But
yeah, I think what they're doing is because we'll be getting it. I think they're gonna go on like a cyclical type base with this, where it's gonna consistently be iOS and Android getting those updates first. And I think what they're gonna do is toss a feature ahead of time for us on BlackBerry 10.
Yeah.
So they'll get the wallpapers likely in their next update, while we get something new.
Yeah.
So even though it feels like we're one behind, we're technically one ahead, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you get it late, but you get a newer feature earlier. So it's smart. It's smart.
The experience just feels better on BB 10 anyway. So
it does. I don't think the iOS BBM application is very good, to be quite honest. I've seen it on a couple. It's good on the
people on iOS.
5S. Yeah, it's good on 5S, like the nice newer devices, but like older ones, like 4. I don't know if that's a BBM thing or hardware.
How is it compared to WhatsApp, for instance? Like, is WhatsApp integrated better, or is it just a limitation of the OS kind of? Or they don't want people really to be using it. They rather have them on iMessage.
Yeah.
I think they kind of go hand in hand. I've actually tried WhatsApp on my wife's iPhone.
Okay.
She has the 5S, so I mean, to me, it's just I think BBM is better just for the simple fact of the gesture use. so it makes it a lot more convenient in terms of getting around inside of the application. But WhatsApp, I mean, you can see that it's had its time in terms of its focus on the iPhone platform, or iOS platform, I should say. So, but I just think BBM feels better. Not just being biased, I just think it feels better on a device.
Yeah, in terms of BBM on Android and iOS, I think honestly, if they really want to see the numbers go up, I know some people might not like this, but if they actually make the apps fit with the OS that they're on, I think there might be a lot more pickup because of that. Because some people open the app and it
Don't
just
matter.
looks so foreign to them, especially when they're going to that OS ecosystem, then they're not really open to it, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Does WhatsApp go along with the layout of each phone operating system, or?
Yeah, they do.
Fairly, they do.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I get what they were trying to do. I mean, Frank Bolpin, a previous CMO, really did not have a lot to go with in regard to marketing. He wasn't given much of a budget. He really had not a lot to go with, and we saw that almost literally with that Super Bowl commercial and Alicia Keys were like the only things he did.
Yeah.
Essentially failures of those attempts. So
well, their marketing was supposed to be the BBM people like us. We're their marketing because we're so passionate about BBM and it's better. So
they wanted to market the BlackBerry, experience, the flow, being able to swipe around in applications.
Yeah.
And they have the BB10 UI aesthetic, and it just like Brandon said, is a little bit foreign. I heard back when before cross-platform ever came about, right around BlackBerry Live time frame, maybe a little bit before that, Heinz was really not looking to bring this cross-platform at all. He still wanted to keep it a BlackBerry thing, and Frank was like, give me something to work with, and then, of course, they were able to leverage that and make it happen. Do you guys think we'll see BBM video at the end of this year?
I should hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about it, like, I was really looking forward to video because that's something that could have really distinguished it going forward. Because people like the security, a lot of people like the emoticons. They're a bit different than the emojis. But I mean, the video and the screen sharing would have been something that would have been really cool. Like I could have been like, oh, hey man, let me show you this file or something here, or let me show you what I'm looking at.
Is there a reason why that's not out yet? There's some type of limitation going from.
There's limitations on like iOS to do a screen sharing, but for Android,
I think
and face-to-face contact is still good, but screen sharing, that's the only thing that there might be a limitation on.
And that's what I'll say. I hope that the video share is just as clear as it is, in the BlackBerry 10 OS for iOS and Android. I just think they have to make sure. I'm sure, like in terms of updating video for Android isn't an issue, but Apple, they're super picky when it comes to things of that nature. And I think they have to make sure they're both on the same page before they do it. And I think they're almost there, but they just have a couple more steps to get through to make it official.
I was just reading Dark Hell in the BBM group. He's like, Google, fuck me. But so developers out there is a 10.3 virtual event scheduled for the 24th. Are either of you two all signed up, or?
Yeah,
I'm at work.
Luckily, I work at home, so.
How do those work, Alex? Are they as good as BlackBerry Live or better?
Are those the only options? No, it's all right. I mean, you kind of get in a chat room and you can ask or answer some questions, and then they have like a video playing and they kind of just go through some stuff. It's nothing really too special. They're probably just gonna explain the basic changes in 10.3 and how to implement them. For instance, the primary action, or can't think off the top of my head what it's called. Starts with an S. Signature action. They're probably just going to show that you can change the colors within the and it's not going to be too crazy, but I'm sure in 10.3 there are also some other nice little perks that they added that they'll show you how to use, but it's all right.
They usually put them up to view afterwards. Yeah. So if you miss it, you can usually go and check them out. So
yeah.
How is the one-on-one with the folks there? Are they pretty responsive to questions and whatnot?
Oh yeah, they have a nice little Q&A section. So what you do is you ask a question within the chat, and they will pull out your question and put it in the Q&A, and then they'll answer it, so people aren't asking the same question like later down the line. You just scroll through the Q&A and you get to see common questions that people ask during the stream and the answers to them. So it works out nicely. It uses the Adobe Meetup or whatever it's called.
Cool, cool. So going back to that BBM news, kind of rounding it out, the Jana Hotel over in Dubai starting to utilize BBM and devices. So it looks like they're deploying some BlackBerry devices specifically for like customer service and engaging as well with the different BBM contacts that they have across the organization to be able to communicate better. So that's pretty cool. Smart way to leverage. I mean, I think small business, there's a lot of benefit for not only Bez and the servers that they have and the server software for managing enterprise mobility, but as well BBM. I definitely think the enterprise focus that they're taking with it is going to be smart, at least as per dollar, getting the money back from BBM. Supposedly it costs, I think, about $200 million a year to run the NOC infrastructure and things like that. So they need to get a return on it, It's great. It's a cool experience. It's a compelling reason maybe to buy a BlackBerry device on BB10 with screen share and all that, but they need to start monetizing it. Going back to, as we were talking about video and how it kind of needs to be here as a compelling feature, going off of what Brandon had said earlier, Line is a popular messaging client in some of these emerging markets, and they just recently got hacked. So not only are your phone numbers out there, but your contact lists have been given up, and as well they'll be able to hack into your conversations and see what you've been saying. So they have video, they've got cross-platform voice, they've got all this, yet they don't have the security aspect, and it's going to become so vital as we approach these new mobile frontiers. Security just needs to be there as one of those core competency things, not something you bolt on afterwards.
Right.
I mean, I've said it previously that security isn't a thing where if you go to someone off the street and you bring up security in their phone, they don't really care because they don't know. But for instance, when the iPhones were getting hacked and locked and you had to pay $100 to unlock your iPhone to get all of your information back, once that happens to you, then security becomes a big deal. But if you've never been hacked or anything like that, you really have no reason to care about security. Right. So as time goes on, it'll be more important.
Yeah, I think BlackBerry needs to find a way to, not necessarily sway people from using other messaging services, but honestly just get them in a mindset look, you only need one messaging service, because you think about it, a lot of people have an account with WhatsApp, account with Line, account with BBM. They have all these different accounts, and your information is all over the place. So once one gets hacked, you don't think that they're going to try to use that information to, on the other, messaging platforms. But
probably
if you have
password.
That's, and then it's okay, you got BlackBerry, and BlackBerry can just, let them know, look, we don't just have the best messaging platform. We have very, very, very secure platform with BBM, and this is the way you guys need to go. Stop using everything else, and I think that's one thing they need to focus on a little bit more in terms of moving BBM.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's even more important in terms of personal communication, because some of your most intimate and most important conversations can happen through instant messaging. So you could be sending personal information, I wouldn't recommend this, but some people might be sending bank information or something like that. If somebody hacks your conversation, there you go. They could steal all your money, or they can do a bunch of other stuff and screw up your credit. So it's not just a matter of, telemarketers are going to go and call you more often now. It's actually got some real effects on your life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think because it's do people SMS anymore? I really don't. I have a couple contacts.
I don't do it that much anymore. Just my iPhone friends do.
For a few things. If people who have iPhones, you kind of
because
you can convince them to get BBM. Yeah.
I honestly I'll Facebook people. It's almost easier. SMS is so passe and dead to me. What I'm trying to do with my contact list is replace my email strictly with BBM, and I know it's so hard to do because email is totally a separate animal. But I think as BBM grows, I'm gonna seriously try to convince people, hey, if you want to communicate with me on a more direct basis than email, get on BBM. It's a much better experience, more secure for business work and whatnot. I mean, if we're sending credentials and things like that, I'd rather it be encrypted than not encrypted, because God knows what Hotmail's using.
Even just knowing that the information went through, that was probably one of my biggest problems with SMS going back in the days. Great examples that I'm sure many of you have experienced. You're texting a girl, or if you're a girl texting a guy, and you're sending them an SMS, and you don't get a response back, and you're thinking, oh crap, they're ignoring me. But then at a later point in time, they said they never even got that message. And it's like with BBM, you know, oh, their phone's probably off. They didn't get the message, or they didn't read it, or they read it and they're ignoring you, and you know, oh, probably shouldn't have said that, or
Absolutely,
so
you're
powerful.
right. Especially like in some of these areas where the coverage isn't great. You know, you could send a text message, hit a dead zone, and then that text message never gets sent. And
Yeah.
No, you're right. And I think another thing with BBM is sure. I mean, I feel is especially if they begin to allow you to send more than just the file types that are allowed now. Different documentation types, whether it be Word, Excel, things of that nature, and then even expanding the file size to what it is currently now. Making it even larger, because I think that's one of the things that people praised like a few updates ago when they did enlarge the file size that you were able to send. Like they make it even bigger. Man, I think it's going to be
16, I think it's 16 megabytes now, which I think it's
Yeah.
bigger than the other major, like WhatsApp and
oh, yeah.
other stuff. I think it's actually significantly larger than them, even though
Yeah,
it's only 16 megabytes right now.
yeah,
and here's something to talk about in regard to it, because like it was at 6, so they upped it by 10, which is pretty significant. Now you can send a song, you can compress a zip and send a couple songs across to your buddy and whatnot. But
Hmm.
what I think is really going to be one of those pressing points for BBM, at least in the consumer aspect, is there's so many other competitors out there. Tango, Line, Telegram, WhatsApp, iMessage, Google Hangouts. What do you think in regard to BBM? Because we had just talked about how Jana Hotel was utilizing it in a more business type sense. Where do you think BBM can leverage to actually create a unique value proposition aside from security, which we're going to talk on as we discuss BBM Protected a little bit later?
I
So,
think they need to do what, sorry,
is it,
just real
yeah.
quick. I think what they need to do is kind of turn it into like Google Docs in a way. They need to get it on computers, because a lot of people at work, they have a computer in front of them. They, as much as it makes sense to have your phone out to BBM, I think it's still kind of weird to be on your phone BBMing while you're at work. So if they can get it on the computer, and if they can get some real-time editing of documents, just basic stuff like Google has, then I think taking the best of both worlds, Google Docs or Google Drive and messaging platform.
What it really comes down to in terms of any messaging system is that you need to have like one unified point of contact for multiple different services. So for instance, back to SMS, if you think about it, SMS is like the one true multi-platform instant messaging app, because you can phone people on that number and you can send messages on that number. The problem we're having now is that it's limited in the way that you can't send large data over that platform. So, I mean, the biggest thing for BBM to do is to make it as easy and as simple to have that one point of contact for all different types of communication, whether it be voice, video, instant messaging, or even maybe even emails. Send emails to that.
Yeah,
to
in
a pin or
collaboration and
something.
whatnot. Yeah, I would like that idea, and I think with going off of that, Brandon, would you guys like to see something like what Google Hangouts and iMessage do, where they integrate SMS in? I do believe they did that on
I would
legacy
like that.
devices, correct?
It was
Yeah,
basic
I
in
would like
Legacy. It was nothing special. They could probably do it a little bit better now, but they definitely need it.
I think to counter the caveat what Brandon said. I mean, with SMS, it is like the grandfather of all messaging. But I think BBM is really going to stand out. Like I said, when they allow the things that you cannot absolutely do with SMS, and that is sending larger files of all types. With the video, especially if the video calls are crystal clear, being just BBM calls itself are like superb. I don't think there's no competition in terms of that feature itself. So they really just have to highlight those, improve on a bit more, and just add a couple more things that I think will pull itself away, and then present it to the people in terms of the consumers, and kind of go back what we were talking about earlier. If you're going to put it on different devices and you're going to make it cross platform, at least we already know that it's a BlackBerry experience you're getting by using the app, but don't take away whatever that platform is from it. It's like, don't make it just, okay, this is that piece of BlackBerry I got on my iPhone, this is that piece of BlackBerry I have on my Android. Make it pretty much integrated with that Android or iOS experience itself. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the app itself is already saying that it's BlackBerry, so it doesn't have to be the gestures and things of that nature.
I mean, one of the toughest things for instant messaging apps now, I find, which I think this is where WhatsApp excels, is that when you get a smartphone or any phone for that matter, you're automatically given a phone number. I mean, that's everybody's ID off the bat, right?
Mhm.
And so WhatsApp, they use that ID, and that's why like everybody can just hop on WhatsApp and start messaging and stuff. It's got its downfalls because of that, but I mean, that's something BBM has to kind of market a bit more because I've switched phones a few different times and numbers, but I still have that one BBM ID,
Yeah.
and it's
Mhm.
amazing that I don't have to keep switching or re-adding names and pins when people leave the country or come back or I move and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the main areas they need to focus on and market. And I think
It's
So
it's good
I
for
have a question
the
for
future.
everybody, and I don't mean to cut anyone off, but this is kind of like my question for you all. But there's been the rumors of the custom pins coming around. Do you guys think it would be a cool idea for the custom pins to be able to be like your phone number or something of that nature? Like,
I
Going
think
off
give
of
people
that.
choice.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, the cool thing is when you meet someone, I feel much better. Like a total stranger, I will give them my PIN way before I'll give them my phone number.
right.
And because you could remove people, you could block people,
Hmm.
and it's just you don't have that power with the phone number. You kind of feel exposed when you give someone your phone number. They can spam you. I think you can get apps to block it, or you could go on Verizon or whatever carrier you have and
And
block the number that's spamming you.
pay to
But
have it.
it's a personal thing. I feel like my PIN is personal. I don't want my PIN thrown out on the internet, but I'd much rather not have my personal cell phone number thrown on the internet.
yeah. And the key thing with BBM is that if someone keeps adding you, you can block further invitations. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
not like someone can keep spamming you and adding you. You can just block them once, and that's it. You never have to hear from that person ever again.
Yeah. And I think actually that when you block someone on, I haven't looked at this in depth, so someone will correct me if I'm wrong. And we do have a couple comments that people asking some questions that I want to get to here. So people are already commenting on the article posting, but I think if you block someone on BBM as a contact, it will also block them on channels.
Hmm.
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if you're a channel like moderator, I do believe that if you block someone, it will also automatically kick them out of your channel and whatnot. So that's pretty interesting that it is kind of like a cross security type thing. It's not like a bunch of different siloed off experiences that they've got going on. So let's address we talked about BBM quite a bit. I know we're going to talk about BBM protected and blends a little bit more, but let's talk about Drake. Let's talk about that folly, the TechCrunch blog fail. Like
Oh
they
man.
pretty much alluded to a conversation that was happening on the back end, and everyone took it as facts and promoted it out there. So people ask, I want to know the answer to a couple questions. Drake promoting the classic. Where is BlackBerry headed in the future? How can we as BlackBerry users show the world that our product is superior to competing products? So Darius, tell us a little bit about Drake. Alex will tell us a little bit about where he thinks BlackBerry is headed, and then Brandon, you stew on how we can show the world that BlackBerry devices are superior.
Well, I think we know that Drake is like the biggest thing that's ever came out of Canada since BlackBerry. So
Bieber's like watching this right now. Like, wait a minute.
no, I think that Drake is definitely like I mean, just in terms of a global influence or an appeal or appearance and things of that nature, then okay, I think Justin Bieber maybe has a bit more leniency on him in terms of the international look. But I mean, branding something and being sponsored and then saying, okay, this guy's behind us, Drake is kind of your go-to guy. There's no one that who doesn't like him as an artist. Um, as I was kind of talking about it before, I remember his first tour, he was sponsored by BlackBerry. This is when the Torch first launched. I think BlackBerry having Drake, being an ambassador of some sorts for them is almost like the Dallas Cowboys had they drafted Johnny Manziel. It would have been like it's almost like no way, that can't happen. But if it does, it's it's perfect almost. If you ask me, you have this guy who's went on record saying, we should write all my rhymes in my BlackBerry. Telling people if you find this BlackBerry that I lost some of these rhymes in, I will give you a huge sum of cash for it. And just being from Canada, I mean, he's got a bunch of rhymes where he says, I've done this X, Y, and Z on my Blackberries and whatever else. But I just think it's almost too perfect if he was to get collaborate with BlackBerry and start making things possible. I think something that I like to see, but I think it's kind of far fetched right now.
Yeah, and just to add to that, he does a lot of stuff for Toronto. Like for instance, he sponsors the Toronto Raptors. He's got his
Yeah.
own section in the stadium.
Oh, wow.
In terms of our soccer team, he actually went all the way to England to convince a soccer player from England to come play in Toronto for the Major League Soccer team. So I mean, he's got like a lot of Toronto pride, and I'm sure, you know, he probably still has a soft spot for BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, he still uses one.
Now,
Yeah.
BlackBerry did reach out, and they did deny that talks were happening. However, it's kind of one of those things I think that they were just covering for any kind of fallout. So if the deal doesn't go through, they don't want, you know, the hype being built up on it and people expecting it. A lot of people saw the headline and did not see that it was actually denied shortly after in a couple hours. So officially not on the table, unofficially probably still being talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe when BlackBerry sees all the excitement about it, they'll get some.
Yeah, Chen. Chen, you
Yeah.
just need to talk to Drake. Be like, yo, Drizzy, my dog. I got this classic. I'm gonna give you the Porsche design version. It's gonna be hot.
Yeah.
So, Alex, answer your question. Where is BlackBerry
Alright.
headed in the future? So let's do near term, like after Classic Passport. What do you see?
So this is kind of near and maybe mid future. So pretty much what BlackBerry 10 is trying to become, obviously with this whole Amazon App Store, is they want to make it so you get the best of BlackBerry 10, which is productivity, and the best of Android, which is the apps and the games. So if you need to look at it the standpoint is why would you buy an Android device to just get all these apps and games? Because that's one of the main selling points for Android, right? Is the apps and the games that you have access to, millions of them. Why would you get that if you could get a BlackBerry 10 device that has the hub, which I know they need to market this kind of stuff, but the hub is amazing, and all of these BlackBerry 10 features, but then you can also run the Android apps and games flawlessly because the 10.3 runtime is apparently much, much, much better, and it's pretty much competitive to the actual Android phone device. So then if you look at it from the business standpoint, why would they not get a BlackBerry 10 device with the security? BlackBerry World would essentially be the utility and productivity world for businesses, and obviously a consumer who wants to be productive, they would go to BlackBerry World, and then you can still use BlackBerry Balance, and then in your personal space you can go over to the Amazon App Store and get the apps and the games that you really want. So it's almost like imagine the best Android software out there is almost what BlackBerry will be, but it will be BlackBerry roots and it will have all the best stuff from BlackBerry. That's currently, from what's going on right now, it seems like that seems to be where we're headed, which isn't a bad thing. As a developer, it's really not that bad of a thing. They just need to find the balance.
Yeah, they still need to promote native applications in a way, be it maybe not in BlackBerry world, but they still need to kind of like get behind those native developers who are bringing awesome utilities, like Mockit. Mockit, you can build memes, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. It's a utility, but it's also a fun app. You know, it's a blurry app. It's like it blurs the line between consumer and enterprise. And in that sense, BlackBerry's gonna have to really find the BlackBerry World teams are gonna have to find that kind of middle ground. So Brandon, what about your bit here? Let's go back to that comment. How can BlackBerry users show the world that our product is superior to some of the competing platforms? What kind of marketing schemas do you see? I mean, again, we're doubling down on the enterprise space, Passport and Classic. Yeah, we want to pull in Drake, who's a consumer.
I think the future for BlackBerry in terms of getting people to like it is going to be an organic growth type of situation, where they build a product and they focus it towards enterprise, and then the people in enterprise start really enjoying the product, and then they see the benefits of the product, and then through word of mouth, we're going to start seeing a bit of a growth outside of the enterprise, maybe. I think it's going to be a niche product right now, which, you know, it excels in certain aspects, but it might not have all the features that another part of the consumer market wants. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think BlackBerry's now with this new enterprise focus is gearing itself up to a good, you know, place in the market. You don't need to be the biggest player to be profitable.
You know, a good marketing technique that they should do, which they should take an iPhone right out of the box and say, don't download any apps whatsoever. Use its bare, you know, what it comes with. and then take a BlackBerry 10 device and do the exact same thing and see what you can do. And then if you do that, you'll realize that iPhones and Android devices are absolutely nothing without the third-party apps. But BlackBerry, you can use this phone with no apps and still be extremely productive, manage
That's
multiple email clients, and it's like that's almost something that people need to see. BlackBerry is more productive if you take apps out of it. So once BlackBerry gets these apps, then what do you call that? Like 10 times the productiveness, or
Yeah, that's definitely
BlackBerry
a good point.
10.
That's definitely a good point. Like BlackBerry itself, the actual OS, it's such a powerhouse of utilities, and it's just you don't really need that many apps because the OS just does so much.
Yeah.
Out of the box, BlackBerry.
But it's like the
Best
Instagrams and like those types of apps. I mean, if you're really dead set on those types of apps, I mean, this Amazon deal will please you. But I mean, there's still going to be apps that are missing from Amazon, but you can always sideload them.
And you know,
guys
and
really-
it's going to get better with the Fire phone. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be looking to get Instagram and Snapchat and the rest of those titles on board for their offering, and now our own. Do you think Amazon will push BlackBerry, or is it kind of like a deal? We shook hands. It is what it is, and that's kind of it.
I think
so.
they're going to push.
I hope so. I mean, I think, and I don't want to speak too much on it because, you know, James, obviously, you know, I've got some in the works that's coming for the people to read. But, you know, hopefully I just think, you know, there's going to be a lot of integration with BlackBerry and Amazon. It's a win-win for both of them, definitely. You know, the possibilities are endless. But to be honest with you, I just think if BlackBerry can really utilize it in the correct way in terms of not necessarily saying, hey, come get our devices, but hey, look at our services, look how you can benefit from them, and give it a go for yourself, especially if they can kind of make some type of merger between, you know, shopblackberry.com and Amazon, especially, you know, luring that traffic from Amazon.com to BlackBerry, to shopblackberry.com. I mean, geez, man, there's a lot of potential there. I
mean, yeah, it's a perfect opportunity for Amazon to get further integrated into the enterprise space because Amazon has Amazon Web Services, which if they can integrate that with BlackBerry's somehow, then that all of a sudden you have these millions of enterprise customers. Yeah, that have the opportunity to use that, right?
Yeah,
so I think there's a lot of like synergies that can go on between the two, and it makes a lot of sense.
Well, you know, I think BlackBerry has the knowledge and Amazon has the money. So if Amazon can just be like, look, we want our stuff to be just as secure and, you know, monetize it in terms of its productivity, we'll give you the dollars, make it happen, and in return, whatever you guys need, let's get it together. And especially if they get behind, you know, the power of QNX itself. I mean, QNX is going to be remarkable if they just have that fire and underneath of them to really, you know, launch and, you know, let the world know, like, look, we're already a step ahead of what you're already thinking, you know, in terms of with a lot of household products and appliances that are already being used by it already. Like, if you have that power behind it that Amazon is, you know, capable of giving, man, I'm really excited about it. Those are one of the main things, like not even just devices that BlackBerry, you know, shown during its, you know, the earnings report, but when they said that deal with Amazon, yeah, it sucked on the terms of the developer side that, you know, BlackBerry has, but it's just letting you know, like, okay, these guys are really in motion right now. They're really trying to make those steps to remain relevant and really get back in the fight, and I'm excited about that.
Yep.
All right, I think we want to talk about
before we transition to Alex. Hi, Kyle. All right, go ahead, Alex.
So I just want to mention one more thing, and then we'll move on from here. I think a couple months ago there was this big news report about this reporter talking about she tried like iOS and Android, and she's like, the calendar kind of sucks, and writing emails kind of sucks, and everyone's like, show her a BlackBerry, like this is what it's built for. And what I see it is, I feel like the default apps that come on your phone should be very, very well developed. So BlackBerry, you get this calendar that they're constantly improving. They're now integrating for 10.3 the calendar, and they're integrating with it Remember. And then obviously the hub is amazing for email management right out of the box. But then what Android and iOS, what they're doing is they're just totally dependent on developers to come up with the amazing mail app. There are, I think, 5 or 6 big players on Android and iOS for just mail apps because people hate the default mail app on Android. and why I feel like that should be up to the phone developer, right? Shouldn't these native, like, how does your phone manage mail? Like, shouldn't that be the native, like, BlackBerry should do that, not developers? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
am I
I
crazy
mean,
for
it's a
thinking
good
that?
point. It's a good point. Like, there's definitely merit in what you're saying. I mean, the native utility apps, those should be high quality. Like, for instance, like you're saying, email. That's like one thing now where smartphones, the first thing you think of a smartphone now is email. So it needs to have, a top-notch email client. But at the same time, there's other apps that maybe, like for instance, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. If you spend a lot of time building some of these other apps, like the calendar and stuff, I mean, that's a really important app, but maybe the money could be used for other things. And I think that's maybe where the Googles and the iPhones are from, because, you can spend all the time in the world trying to develop an amazing calendar app, but when you have like thousands or millions of developers who are willing to spend that time and go that extra effort to make the calendar app, then it just
Yeah.
there's no point for it. But for BlackBerry, you're right. They definitely do need to make top quality email
Core
clients
apps,
and
yes.
utility
Yeah.
apps on the OS, because the developers just aren't there. So they have to show what you can do with the OS, and they have to
That's true.
make them top quality so that people don't feel like they're missing out.
Right.
Absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the core apps on BB10 are one of my favorite things. Like that, the alarm clock, simple, elegant, setting an alarm, just intuitive. The compass with the gyroscope, that it just you can hold it any direction and it works. There's a lot of thought that's been put into those core applications, and it's actually a perfect little segue into what we want to talk about next, which is the earnings call, and how some of those core apps are going to be working in newer devices that have been shown off and teased more than anything else, the Passport and the Classic. So what did you guys think of the earnings call? Overall, we reported technically a profit. I mean, on paper, we still big revenue losses, but we actually posted a $23 million profit on
They
this.
they say depending on
400
who.
million tax rebate. I don't know.
An accounting profit, not an actual
Yeah.
profit.
Yeah,
But
they say depending on how you
technicality.
calculate it, because like
Yeah.
sometimes it's negative 60 million, other times we made 23 million, just like depending on the accountant that does it.
Yep.
But yeah, it was close.
Yeah. So with that, we had a couple things. I mean, revenue was down 10 million, which is about like 1% from last quarter. Gross margins actually did climb about 5%. We saw 1.7 million BlackBerry 10 devices sold. The other 1.6, I believe, was legacy devices. So 2.6 in total. Not bad overall. They're doing pretty good. Finally, as we talked about, that penetration of BBOS versus legacy is 65 to 45.
Yes.
So finally, we're
Needed
getting
that.
we're getting to that point where BB10 is
Wait,
actually.
can we just hold on for a second and do a clap
Sure.
for that? The
Yes.
first
Finally,
time
this is what the
BB10 beat
developers
the
wanted.
OS.
This is what BlackBerry needed.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
No,
We're on
absolutely.
the rise, guys.
And here's an interesting thing. We did what's called a dead cat bounce on the market, where we shook off a lot of the short sellers and then bounced back to a more growth on the spreadsheet. So we were at 3.1 billion 2 quarters ago, cash on hand.
Yeah.
We dropped to 2.7 billion. Cost for restructuring, cost for paying off some of the licensing and royalty fees that they had on legacy as well. We brought down to 2.7. People were really afraid, is that cash going to diminish down to below 2 billion? So that wasn't the case. They were actually pulled in enough revenue to put about just under $500 million back on the cash pile. So we're back at 3.1 billion. We're much more healthy than we were before. So a lot going on. The earnings call was really deliberate. Chen did a good job of, I don't want to say masking some of the negatives, but he did a good job of guiding the earnings call and the general shareholders meeting afterwards to make it a much more positive spiel across the net.
He's been doing a phenomenal job ever since he's taken over. It's like night and day since he took over. Before, it was all doom and gloom for BlackBerry, and nowadays, like, I think just in general, there's a lot more of a positive vibe coming out of the company now. And I think investors are really like noticing that, and I think the shorts are actually way down from when they used to be.
Yeah,
Am I correct, Alex?
He knew that people couldn't, as far as the fans of BlackBerry, and they couldn't take any more bad news. Like, not another quarter,
Oh, no.
negativity. Like, we don't need it. Like, please just tell us something good. And I mean, it was just complete positivity. As Brandon said. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and it's been an excellent job thus far. I think the reason why BlackBerry had such good reports and things are on the turn up is because Chinnis came in and said, you know what, let's stop putting the fate of our company in other people's hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
That deserves some claps right there.
Yeah.
He's taking control and just said, you know what, let's get this shit together. Let's turn it around. Let's start doing this. Let's let the carriers know we won't take no shit. T-Mobile don't want to take T-Mobile don't want to support us, then we don't need T-Mobile. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? That's why
He rolled up his sleeves and just
for a reason.
went at it.
Exactly. So he's like, whatever, you got to get dirty in order to, get something out of it. And he's doing that. He come to tell him, like, look, there's a 50-50 chance. And then he come back, okay, well, maybe there's about an 80% chance.
Yep. And he stayed firm on that 80. He's like, I'm still.
Because the guy asked him, he was like, it could be 80%, and I'm never going to go above 80 because there's always a chance that anything could happen to go, that you could fail. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at it, Apple isn't on the upside of things either. They haven't been in recent months. So I'm not saying that, oh my God, you're witnessing the fall of Apple. No, you've already witnessed the fall. He's just saying that it can happen, and it doesn't matter how strong you are, it can happen. Technically, if you look at Microsoft, they've been on the fall for years. They really haven't been doing well for years.
God.
They're like the company that will not lose mobile phones. Microsoft is literally like the one company that will not give up on mobile phones.
No, they won't. And it's like they definitely haven't been doing good there. The PC era is definitely declining. So
post PC's here. We're living it. He
just keeps
point one, like the most confusing shit I've ever used. I love Windows 7 though. I love Windows 7.
Everything looks the same. It just looks the same.
Man.
Just that Metro is like the Metro front ends. Anyway, that's totally off topic. What I do want to talk about is, and I know Alex wants to bring up the Chen versus Heinz kind of a juxtaposition there, but what I want to talk about is, BlackBerry was quote unquote for sale, and it wasn't. We need to have that up on front. Like, of course, if someone says I'll pay $15 billion for buy, BlackBerry would have been gone. But they were waiting for a good ass price tag before they would have let that go. Timothy Daddles was in the boardrooms in those meetings, and he was not going to let BlackBerry go for because people wanted pieces. Facebook wanted the messengers. People wanted the knock. IBM wanted people wanted pieces of BlackBerry, not the whole thing. And Timothy was like, nope, you want it, pay up for the whole thing. Yeah. So in that, we heard Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon were all part of those talks. All, supposedly going to buy BlackBerry. There's so many rumors across those months. But if you think about it, Heinz opened up the discussion, opened up the connections, allowed BlackBerry to have those media contacts with these different organizations so that Chen comes in, make a call to Amazon, be like, oh, you remember that? Remember what we talked about? How about we put that on paper and let's make it happen? He opened up a lot of those conversations with these companies, and I think with Project Ion and what they're doing, they may be able to amass some of these larger organizations to get behind them and work together so that they can get what they wanted from BlackBerry without having to pay exorbitantly for it.
He's just a really likable guy, man. Like, if he came to me and said he wanted to do a deal with me, I'd be like, oh, sure, John.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
this is exactly what I want to bring up is I don't know if any of you I'm sure you guys have listened to the earnings calls when Torsten was in charge. They're kind of just monotone. You kind of just he just said stuff, whatever. But now it's like with Chen, you get excited when he talks because he actually cracks jokes in there. Like it's not a joke to him, but he's done this before. He's used to it. He's not nervous, and he will just speak his mind at times. Like, he's the person who says no one leak anything, but he's the one that accidentally leaks it. Yeah. And it's so I just love that about him.
He's real off the cuff. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Wait, guys, real quick.
Man for it.
Who am I as we transition here? John Chen. What a ballsy move. Supposedly he was not going to show off those devices at the
That is funny.
HDM, rather. He supposedly people were kind of nodding off and you're repeating shit you already told us in the earnings call. So he's like, you know what? Give me your passport. Give me your classic. And he just holds them. It's like, is this what you want? Is this what you guys want?
Yeah.
And, real off the cuff PR. I can imagine pulling out their hair in regard to that. But real off the cuff. He didn't touch the keyboard. He was real deliberate. It's almost like he's going kind of off the cuff on it, but at the same time you can tell it's pretty strategized at the same point.
Yeah.
So a lot of people asking pricing, availability, specs, Passport and Classic. Classic is supposedly going to be a mid to high end phone, so it'll have quad core, likely. They're going to move to the quad.
Probably 2 gigahertz.
Yeah, probably 2 GB of RAM, a decent screen, and the QWERTY, and of course BB10. So it's going to be a mid-range. I don't know if you saw the back of the Classic device in any of the pictures that have been posted, but it's not the glass weave. It's like kind of the Z10-ish back. So it's not a totally high end device, but we are getting there to where we have the mid-range. So what do you think on pricing on that? I'm thinking 400, 500.
Yeah, I'm thinking, me is 400, 500. Realistically, what I'm thinking, what I think it should be is competitive. So I'm thinking like sub 400, and it's not selling them out. It's not selling them short. It's really just saying like, look, we got great devices for great prices, and it's gonna get what you need done. So I think that's a way that they should go. Another thing with the specs, I think they're both using the Snapdragon 800 chip. So it's a lot of power like behind those handsets, and
yeah, absolutely.
Keep in mind too that the Classic is mainly for business owners, right? So they can so they can probably make it. We're saying 400 or 500. They might actually go and make it like 556 because they know these businesses are shelling out the money. And think back, they just put the pre-sale for 9,900. What was it pre-selling at? $399
in Canada.
Yeah, this might actually be to prepare for the drop of the cost of the Classic, saying the 9,900 is $400, so it makes sense that this Classic is going to be $650 or whatever. It might be actually a strategic thing they're doing.
Yeah, I think Darius is like way too overly optimistic about the pricing.
Yeah.
BlackBerry's always had price problems, though,
Yeah, BlackBerry tends to price high, which rightly so. Like they do have a good product, but I think if they do come in at a competitive price, like $500 to $400, I think people will still buy it. I think sub 400, then they've got a really good, match in what the terms of the market is and what their product is going to be. I think that's going to do really well.
And if you think about it as well, I mean, you can always decrease the price. Harder to increase it after the fact. So start it at 400, start it at 500, and get competitive. Buy one get one. Give me a buy one get one free on a Classic.
BOGO?
I will pay. Yeah, give me that BOGO, and I'll get one for my mother.
But you got to be careful with that too, though, because the media jumps on you when you start cutting prices. Like a phone just comes out for 600, when you drop it to 500, the media jumps on it.
It'd be cool, like a 3-week promotion, buy one get one free on select carriers.
Yeah.
When you buy it outright, not on contract, buy one, get one free. But so let's go over some of the specs of the Passport device. People have been wondering a lot about that. That has been long speculated. We've known the Windermere leaks. 13 megapixel camera, 1440 by 1440 LCD panel up on the front end. Looks gorgeous. We've seen a couple of short videos and pictures of it. It just looks awesome. The 1-to-1 ratio, it's kind of disheartening at first. It's like, what? A 4.5-inch square? It does seem to be pretty awesome. Does have a capacitive keyboard. I think I'm going to be doing a post on actually showing people how that works. How does prediction work? How does anything work? How do I get my numbers and symbols? So I might be working on something on that later. 3,450 milliamp battery. So this thing is going to be a beast. I mean, the whole thing is pretty much a battery.
3 gigabytes of memory.
3 gigabytes of RAM, as we talked about the Snapdragon. What was that? That was the MSM8974 processor. It's a quad-core SoC. So just really cool things going on. The keyboard on the Passport can be used as a trackpad. So same kind of functionality that you get on the Classic, but only within core applications. We're not sure if maybe more SDK work has to be done to actually build in that a little bit more. But it's definitely going to be a high-end, high-quality, high-productivity device, and I'm really looking forward to it. I was surprised when I saw the Classic. I don't know if you guys were. I was really surprised by how attractive and how nice it looked. There's just the tiny little refinements that they made of the UI and whatnot. But the Passport, the second Chen held it up, I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's it. That's my next.
The high quality seems to be coming back, because the 9900, you could whip that thing at someone and knock them out. It has that bezel, and the Classic has that now. Like that bezel ride just makes it look high class, like well built, worth the money.
It does, and
Yeah.
I love the frets go all the way across, and then the whole device is wrapped in the stainless steel as well. It
Yeah.
just looks classy, and I wonder, you guys saw the trackpad? It looks like more black.
It's little. Yeah.
Yeah, it's little, and I wonder if it's gonna have a backlight like we had on the 9900. I really like that.
Do you guys think it's going to be pushable, or do you think it's actually
I think it'll be
going to be
clickable.
solid? You think
I
it's
think
going to
Yeah.
be
it'll be
clickable?
clickable.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we covered some of the specs. Let's go back here because there's a lot that happened. I mean, more on this Amazon deal. Do you guys feel like they're gonna? Because I know Darius had mentioned maybe an integration of Shop BlackBerry and Amazon. Like it'd be a great way. Like, hey, look, Amazon Fire Phone, BlackBerry 10,
Yeah.
right there on the front page. They could do a lot with that.
I think it just hopefully, since we'll see, the Amazon App Store on BlackBerry 10 phones, Amazon, they're definitely going to put a lot of push behind the Fire Phone, because when their tablet, when it first came out, it didn't get good reviews. It really wasn't that great of a tablet, but they stuck with it, and they came back with another one, and I mean, they really started to gain a lot of market share in terms of its tablet space goes. But hopefully we'll be able to see some of the features from the Fire Phone on BlackBerry 10 device in the future.
That's what I'm wondering. Really, to come right off of that. I mean, we saw that on the 21st of July, the music and video will be removed from BlackBerry World. That's when I imagine they're gonna do. That's when I imagine we're gonna get whatever maintenance release comes with the Amazon store, somewhere around that time frame. Do you think? Because like right now, Amazon's App Store does not have music and video. So are we gonna get like 4 preloaded applications, or are they gonna update that App Store to actually house everything?
I think it's going to house everything. I mean,
They're gonna put more work into it for sure.
we've seen it coming though. Like we seen it, but we didn't see it. When BlackBerry cut off newsstand, that was kind of in the making. I think they've been talking about it, that far back in terms of, getting the Amazon App Store on BlackBerry 10 devices. They just said, all right, look, let's scratch the minor things now, and then we're going to make the big announcement on music and video, and then we'll let them know, hey, don't worry about it, because we're going to have the Amazon App Store that's going to cover those needs for you guys. So I think those thoughts.
Let's bring up what this really means, this partnership with Amazon, because it's kind of simple in a way. Amazon has always been able to run on BlackBerry 10. This is not news to anyone.
Yeah.
The partnership really means BlackBerry can say you can run the Amazon App Store. I think legally BlackBerry was not able to say that you can run the Amazon App Store APK on BlackBerry 10. I think there was a legal issue with that. But now when they're advertising with this partnership, they can say you can do this and get all these and they can advertise that we can run 250,000 Amazon apps, which Chen has been doing.
Yeah.
And then you can also preload the phones with it on there with this partnership. So realistically, it's not that big of a deal, but in a way, from a marketing standpoint, that is where the big deal comes from. This partnership.
I think there's opportunities, to, like, for instance, they have one of the most robust catalog of, books, movies, and a whole bunch of different things, which, I mean, if you can do a deal with Amazon and get all that on the BlackBerry, I mean, it makes sense that Chen would do that. That means they don't have to pursue those avenues, and they can just be like, hey, look, you can access all this through Amazon, and there you go. Amazon gets the money, you don't care, but you're still selling the phones, and it's pleasing the customers you do have, and your main bread and butter is enterprise anyways, right?
It's saving BlackBerry money anyways in terms of, vendor and licensing fees. Like, that's such a good thing for BlackBerry, for them to just rely on Amazon to take care of that. Because, I mean, it wasn't like the music and video services through BlackBerry were so awesome and top of the line anyways. Like, they were kind of late on the releases in terms of music and some of the videos and whatnot. Not to say it wasn't cool to be, native and accessible that way, but, Amazon, they're way ahead of us in the game. So, why not use them for what they're good at? Just makes sense.
Definitely. So let's clarify. I want to talk about blends. Blends is how I want to close this podcast off, and we are approaching that. I wanted to keep it down to an hour. There's only 4 of us. We don't need a 4-hour podcast. But so just for clarity on some of the availability, Passport device likely around $600, September timeframe, could be even higher price wise. High end, likely the new flagship QWERTY aside the classic. And that's the thing. It's like, is the classic going to be a flagship? Is the Passport going to be a classic? Are they totally separate kind of endeavors for BlackBerry? That remains to be seen. So that's September time frame. September, we will get 10.3 on new devices. In-market devices like the Z10, Q10, Z3, and etc. out there. We'll be getting the 10.3.1 release come November, maybe even a little bit later. So when we're going to get the classic toward November timeframe, and that's when we can expect availability of that new OS. I know a lot of people are asking, is my Q10 going to get this update? When's it going to get it? Is it going to work well? I really think, and Alex and I talked on this last night, that the Z10 and Q10 with 10.3.1, new life. They're going to be totally new devices in a sense. They're going to really actually run Android applications a lot better. Z10, on Android support. Z30 is a lot better, and I know at least Brandon and I can talk on that. That the Z30, the graphics processor does a lot of heavy lifting. Yeah, it really is better. So, but let's talk about the Passport. Anyone else have anything they want to add in on the Passport side?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, a lot of people, they don't like the form factor, but I think BlackBerry really took the term phablet serious when they invented the Passport. And the point I want to get to is, let's take a tablet, and let's say the BlackBerry Playbook is our tablet. If you turn it upside down and you have it, in a vertical position, you put 3 keys on it, what do you get? You get a 1:1 ratio screen. So they took it that serious if you look at it in that perspective. Not only that, it's wider. So when people have something that's smaller, it makes it a little uncomfortable, but being that it's wider, it's going to be that much more comfortable in your hand. Like, for example, you take gamers, the smaller controller, a lot of people say, they complain about it, they don't like it. Even with Sony, when they made the PS4 controller and they totally renovated. I don't want to say renovated. They created a whole new controller. DualShock 4 controller. It's bigger. It feels a lot more comfortable in your hands when you're playing it. So when you're using this phone, as far as it being comfortable, I think it's already gonna, it's gonna hit a lot of points that people like and what they've been looking for in terms of a phone.
Yeah, Chen kept mentioning the one thing was people keep making the phones taller.
Right.
Like how big are you? But Chen's like, no one else is doing this. So even if people think this is stupid, at least we're giving it a try.
Exactly.
Maybe it is the next big thing. No one knows. No one tried it. BlackBerry's trying it.
And what other OEMs do is they keep the same form factor and they just make it longer. They don't do anything else to it. So you're just looking like, that's cool, I got more screen, but I really didn't need it. So what they're doing is like, let's utilize it and make it the best possible. Also, when you're looking at 3 rows, they're making messaging that much better. They streamline. They cut the trim. They cut the fat off of the old keyboards that they needed that they once used. And what they've done is they just put nothing but the letters, delete button, space bar in it. That is making your messaging that much faster. And people aren't even thinking of it in that sense. But when you get that device, and I know when you have that device in your hand, especially you're a BlackBerry user, you're gonna say, man, this is by far the best device that BlackBerry's ever made. Like
the minimalist that they did with the keyboard, like you mentioned, it looks like it's almost a Z10 with just a little bit of room taken up by this physical keyboard. Now I almost want to get this phone simply because of that. They made a minimal keyboard that does exactly what I want it to do without being too much. Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely.
Let me confirm some things on the Passport keyboard. A lot of people wonder like how it works. Yes, it has flick typing. It's kind of like the Q10, but you're able actually to flick on those 3 regions as you type. Yes, you can back swipe to delete. Yes, you can slide down to pull in on screen your symbols and extra characters and things like that. So they've essentially taken most of what we have and love on the BlackBerry 10 virtual keyboard and brought it over to this capacitive, touch-sensitive keyboard. That's a physical keyboard. It's going to be awesome. A lot of the things that you're already used to on BlackBerry 10 are going to work seamlessly on the Passport within certain applications, barring that, of course.
Yeah, it's all about convenience. That's what they made about convenience and just quick, secure messaging and being able to do it on the go.
All right, so we're gonna switch it up here. What we're gonna do is talk about blends before we close, and then we're gonna answer some fan questions, and then we'll wrap it up here, guys. So Brandon, take it away with blends. What do you think?
Yeah, so blends. At first, when we first started seeing it coming out, I thought it was gonna actually officially be released with 10.2.1, but as we all know, it didn't release with that, so now I'm starting to believe it's going to come at the end of the year with the 10.3. maybe .0, maybe the original 10.3, but
I think
firmly believe
10.3 they'll put it into public beta and have it available on the
3.1 is
actual
going to be
Apple.
official, right?
Yeah, I
And
think so.
just out of curiosity, I know what I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like a desktop kind of program that you can interact with the messages on your phone and share like web pages between your desktop and your phone. But I was wondering what you guys think it might be. Think it's going to be bridge for the desktop, or
Yes.
just an improved bridge for a different slew of devices like
Here's my thoughts.
tablets.
I want to get this out of the way just because I think what BlackBerry has done is they say we want a desktop experience for our users, but we don't want to build a desktop OS. The answer to that blends. We're going to give you everything you do on your desktop pretty much and just kind of embed it in with everything else. So a standalone program, it'll just launch as a server push from your phone. You'll be able to connect. What we've seen thus far, we can confirm iOS and Android tablets will be supported with blends, so that you can merge in the enterprise. If you do have one of those tablets, you'll be able to merge those over. From the 10.3.296, the first 10.3 leak that we got, BlackBerry Playbook was not listed in the blends files, but it was mentioned in the actual code within the Fuse application. So maybe Playbook will get the blends as well. We can at least confirm iOS and Android tablets are what they're focusing on.
I can already hear the pitchforks sharpening in the background.
Oh yeah.
When you don't mention it's coming to the Playbook.
Well,
at least from what we saw, what Jeremy was actually able to open up the Fuse app and get it to deploy. And it essentially, you press Fuse and it says, okay, sync, and then the sync will be for Android and iOS tablets. That was like listed there in the UI. You would just tap your tablet and scan, a lot like syncing a playbook via barcode, same kind of thing.
Is it bad that I finally, after seeing Chen holding the devices and the little blends icon at it, I finally understand the name and everything about it? Because the icon is a phone going to a bigger screen, and it's showing your phone is going to be mirrored. We're going to make your usefulness of your phone on any type of screen. It's just a generic screen. And then I'm thinking blends. You're blending your phone with another, MDM, just other devices. And I'm like, I got it. It makes sense. I like it.
BlackBerry took their time with it. I think they, definitely were, figuring around the idea of having a desktop OS, but they took note from Google with the Chromebook and was like, you know what, that's actually not a good idea. So they were kind of like, all right, let them be the Cowboys that go over the hill first. And the Indians take them out, you know what I'm saying? And, somebody's got to, go through the wall first. And it was Google. They can afford to do such. BlackBerry couldn't. But I think, like you said, James, you made a very good point. BlackBerry definitely said, let's not, do the whole OS thing on desktop. Let's just give them a piece of it and say, this is your phone on your desktop. You can do whatever you want to, whatever OS you use, whether it be Mac or whether it be PC, anything else you use. But I think blends is going to be the answer for that. It's going to be.
And to bounce right off of that real quick, because I know Brandon's got to dip out of here real soon. So I want to hear his final thoughts on this. What the hell has the Astonishing Tribe been doing? This is what the RIM Sweden has been doing.
Where are they?
They've been the ones working on this quite a bit. I have a couple contacts over in Eastern Europe.
I'm excited.
They're working on the UI. They're working on cleaning it all up. They're pushing forward an aesthetic here that is it's going to be pretty tight knit and work a lot more closely with the 10.3 look and feel. So what are they doing? They're building out the killer BB10 applications, and they've got more coming as well. In terms of I don't know if you guys saw the confetti.
You think that's going to come?
I do think they're working on that, and they're working to do it just through Bluetooth, so that you don't need an overhead camera to make it work. That they're going to use the proximity sensors in the device and Bluetooth to be able to make that work. So again, it's like if we get blends, I don't think it's going to be like a standalone application in the sense that it's something you have to download. I think it's going to be part of like BlackBerry Link on the back end. Like remote file access, all of that, I think is kind of part of what blends is going to be.
Oh, let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Well, I mean, remote file.
Oh man.
Remote file access is part of what they're experimenting to get it working, right?
Like Link as a software, like for what it's supposed to do, sucks. But like remote file access and some of the back end connecting and
that's true.
The wireless syncing, that all works well.
Yeah.
The actual, So yeah, blends will work via USB and Wi-Fi. I think they're working on to get Bluetooth as well, but I'm not sure if it'll be a limited functionality there. You
I
definitely
mean,
cannot do a video call over Bluetooth.
what I like is BlackBerry's really been about cross-platform. They realize that's the only way they could bring back market share or do whatever they're doing is
Yeah.
they care about all of the platforms. Apple, they just released or they're releasing iOS 8, which when you walk up to your computer with your phone, the little icon pops up and you can switch between the two. But you have to have a Mac, you have to have an Apple device.
Mhm.
But
and
BlackBerry,
the same Wi-Fi connection.
yeah, and BlackBerry, they're doing this thing where you can have just the program. I don't care if you're on a Mac, I don't care if you're on Windows, I don't care what you're on, and that's the right way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
You can BBM people from your computer no matter the computer. That is what
Mhm.
the future is going to be. You need that.
Yeah.
That's mobile computing, and I think that's where the next frontier that we're headed into.
Yeah.
Brandon, are you gonna cut out here, or are you
Yeah,
gonna
I'm heading out, guys. Thanks for having me. See you, everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right,
We'll be
bro.
talking at you
Easy,
soon.
man.
Later.
So I just want to close on answering some of our fan questions out there. We have some awesome supporters online on the channels and the comments, and we're here to answer your questions as best we can, guys. So Burke brought up a really interesting question, and I know his name is Brad actually. So hi, Brad. if he asks if you were given the task to change the perception of BlackBerry through a marketing campaign, how would you go about it? Here's my
Side by side comparison. Here's a BlackBerry, here's an iPhone. BlackBerry 10 can do this, iPhone cannot. Matter of fact, this is what iOS's alternative is for what a BlackBerry can do. And you got to compare native specs. Like people have to actually see it. People don't believe things that they hear. They believe things that they see.
Absolutely.
So that's how they have to go about it. They have to have something kind of, I think HTC was on to something, but their marketing is kind of corny because they're like, you're gonna.
Their marketing reminds me of the Super Bowl commercial. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Let the internet
go
sell
find
you
out
on it.
Go find out about the device. I'm sure you're interested, right? Right. But what I think honestly they should do, and this was mentioned to me on Twitter by I want to say Brandon. Brandon is his name. I will tweet him later and say thank you. But kind of what he said was like, do 365 days of prosumer. Get, maybe not A-list celebs, but get famous people in enterprise. Get well-known people from around Canada, around the U.S., around the world even, and just every day putting out there that, hey, I use BlackBerry, I'm proud of it, and this is why. This is what it helps me accomplish. So able to just get a lot more kind of out there and more, so to speak. Yeah. It just would be a really interesting thing for them to do to kind of get some of their user base. Like you guys saw the Toronto Maple Leafs commercials they were doing with the Z30 and whatnot, where it's real short, like 15, 20 seconds. And it's I need BlackBerry for work. I need 25-hour battery life. Simple things like that.
Yep.
Where they get what the phone does, they get the features out, and can do a really good job of kind of spreading it across and showing who a BlackBerry user is in this day and age.
They should show this. I like what Darius was saying. They should show the similarities where active frames in 10.3 are a lot better, obviously, but they should show this is active frames, and then this is how you manage running apps on your iPhone. And what you do is you have to double tap right on the iPhone for it to show the running apps, and it's really kind of in the background. But active frames, that's like your home screen. It's taking iOS and Android and combining them in Windows Phone, and it's kind of making it a better experience. You just click on the little X if you want to exit out. You tap on the X instead of having to double click, swipe, 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 swipe. It's like just show the comparisons of the big platforms out there.
You know who actually does the best?
It's gonna be funny when like a BlackBerry commercial ends in 15 seconds and we're still showing you the Apple shit catching up.
I think BlackBerry, they really need to talk to some of these like fast food restaurants in terms of their marketing. Like, all right, I don't know if you guys even just paid any mind, but if you look at Taco Bell and how they're marketing their whole breakfast campaign and how they're directly going at McDonald's neck, and like they take all these Ronald McDonald, these guys whose real name are Ronald McDonald, and they talk about how they like this product. They don't have to necessarily do something like along those lines, but if you come directly at the competition, that's when people say, "Oh, BlackBerry talking about Apple. Oh, okay, so what they got to say?" And if you make a serious point, people gonna be like, "Well, damn, like they're right." Like,
do you guys remember those commercials where it was like Mac and PC where they had like the Apple guy? We should do that with Drake. It's like we have the same shit, and Drake just comes in with a BlackBerry. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Exactly.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be dope.
But I think like perception changing, like to really change the perception, you got to do more showing than telling. They've done a lot of telling. They actually have to go out there. I mean, Lauren in our Confluence piece did a great write-up on going to the college campuses, putting the phone in people's hands, be like, look, see, look what it can do, and actually like getting it right in front of them and actually engaging with them. And I think, as per perception, they got to work. They're kind of working for what I think on a trickle-down effect, where they can hit at the enterprise and it'll trickle down to the consumer, their friends and family, and eventually disseminate out. I think they need to work on both ends, from the top and the bottom, to kind of meet in the middle with an actually true marketing campaign. I have a friend who's an analyst actually for the company, and he more or less he just follows stocks and does analysis on them. But he brought up a great point that BlackBerry suffers a lot in the fact that they don't really have a brand identity that has a lot of strength in 2014. I mean, we know what a BlackBerry stands for, but the general consumer just doesn't. They're like, oh, that's a business phone. Why would I ever even think about that, let alone try it out? They have an identity crisis, and you see why they're not doing marketing, because they don't know which way to go with it yet. Like, are we totally all enterprise? Do we want to double down on that, or do we want to show that we're all-in-one solution for people? And I think that's where Chen will take it.
I mean, that's definitely a reason why they're not marketing, but like, I want to bring this up because my mom has just been like yelling at me about it. She loves BlackBerry, but she's like, why do I never see a damn commercial on the TV? Like, why don't they do this? And I was trying to explain to her, and I'm sure a lot of people have this question, because for BlackBerry to throw a lot of money at TV commercials right now, it would essentially just be a pissing contest that BlackBerry does not have the resources to do. Windows has, well, there you go. But Windows, they're so rich because of PC. Pretty much like every computer in the world is Windows. They have all this money that they're able to store and start throwing on their Windows Mobile. And then Apple, obviously, you see why they have money. And then Amazon, they obviously, or Android has money because there's Samsung who's making crazy money from that. So they have the resources and money to throw at advertising. BlackBerry, if they try to compete in consumer right now, even if they have a better product, which we believe they do, they just can't throw that money away. It's better to invest it in enterprise, and once they get their foot back in the door with that, start making money, then they start moving to consumers. This partnership with Amazon is a consumer play, pretty obviously, right? Absolutely. So they're slowly trying to work consumer, but enterprise is where they need to focus because they don't have that much money yet.
I think a lot of the features honestly just don't appeal to the masses.
But they do. Look at Apple ripping off all of their features.
Oh no, you're right.
Jeremy shared an article. It was like the top underappreciated iOS 8 features, and literally it's like everything BlackBerry 10 has had.
Well, what it is one, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it, and we don't market. But if you look at how far Android and Apple came when they first started marketing their product, how did they market it? They marketed through their apps. That's simply how they marketed. Once they were known to say, hey, they've got apps, then they started focusing on the build or the brand. That's all it was. BlackBerry, we can't start marketing on the brand and things of that nature. When you look at a Apple commercial, it's like 5 minutes of nature. It doesn't show no device. It doesn't show anything of that nature. But it's an Apple commercial.
It's emotional though. They tap into that consumer feel, So,
but they can do that now. They have that crowd behind them, and they don't care. They know that Apple has these things. BlackBerry has to kind of jump from the beginning, and it has to be about something that's going to appeal to the masses. Then they can start saying, okay, we're not just about apps. We're about productivity, and we can help you get your day a lot easier. But they can't say that. They can't make a commercial on productivity. People are gonna be like, exactly why I don't buy your devices, because you're about productivity, about business. Who cares? And it's the truth. It sucks, but it's the truth.
You're right.
Yeah.
It is kind of one of those things like a catch-22. It's like they don't want to go too far left, too far right. They got to take a middle angle where we can do it all. And this is why you should care.
Exactly.
So do you guys think we'll see blends grow? I mean, I saw a little bit that they were going to build in like third-party developers into the blends application. What is that going to look like for end users?
I hope
like we saw BlackBerry Express inside of blends. Like, what could that leverage?
channels could be, you know, integrated into blends, and I think that'd be pretty dope. I mean, it's just I think blends is going to be a step towards it being a social tool, not just necessarily having the features on your from your phone on your desktop and being able to, you know, use your desktop in order to interact people through your phone. It's going to have a lot more features that they're going to eventually incorporate and build on, and it's going to be, you know, just it's just going to be an entity of itself, especially if you can integrate things like, uh, you know, channels or remember me, you know, those productivity tools. If you can integrate that on your desktop, you're like, man, this is exactly what I needed, you know. Because I know with my Mac, anything I put on my calendar, it shows right into my calendar on my phone. But it'd be so easier with a program like Blends that would make it like native and give me that great feel that I need.
I appreciate you guys coming on for this weekly discussion that we're doing on Upstream. Right here on the screen, you will see Sean Burke, not Brad Burke. I totally messed that up. This is his channel, BB Powered. Definitely go check it out. Subscribe. You can go search BB Powered. He does a real good job of bringing in news from a bunch of different places. So it's not just like one blog or two or three blogs. He gets all sorts of news and kind of compiles it all in one really good channel. So definitely check it out. And thank you for supporting, Sean. We appreciate you in the comments and whatnot. You guys have anything else you want to add in before we close this up?
Well, you mentioned channels. Just say one last thing. I think channels is great in terms of feedback. Like if you make a post, you actually get the likes and the comments responding to you. And I think compared to like Twitter and Facebook, I think people are more interactive with it. And I really can't wait to see it be internet-based or through Blends or whatever, rather than just being phone. I'm just waiting for that.
I want it to stay a mobile social network. I don't necessarily want it on web, but I do see that there's a lot of potential for it being on web, you know?
Yeah.
Blends is really going to be interesting, man. I hope they market Blends and like let the rest fall into place, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think you know, I just want to leave off with that. The new devices that we have coming up are really going to complement. They're finally going to complement, you know, the software that BlackBerry has presented and brought to the people thus far.
Yeah.
I think that's what we've been missing. Is not to say that, you know, the Z10, the Q10, and the Z30 sucks. I just think it's finally. It's almost like we caught up with ourselves. We were so
the hardware is caught up with it.
Yeah,
People always complain about the pixel density, and now we're 1440 by 1440. I don't think we need any bigger for a while. Seriously, at that point you start draining battery unnecessarily. Your display.
I want BlackBerry to send The Verge a passport. I want them to send TechCrunch a passport and just be like, go ahead and pan it, you know, like just to put it in their hands, because like they reviewed the Z10 and that's their conception of BlackBerry 10, you know. They didn't pick up a Z30. They didn't even really spend that long with these devices. I really think the passport is going to start changing some of that, as Sean mentioned, the perception of what's going on. That, Amazon, new devices, high-end, more services, better OS, a lot coming forward. So we BlackBerry
native Amazon Android apps as well. I think that's a big thing with the reviews that we're going to start seeing, because people have always said in these reviews, well, you could sideload this app called Snap, or you can go out there and get the APK. Now it's on the phone. They can say you get Android apps natively on the phone. That's all you have to say.
No more excuses. You got everything you want. You can be productive. You got security. You got the specs. You got the hardware. What more do you want now? What is it going to be next? This is what I can't wait until after it comes out. It's like you said everything you possibly can.
It's like the next hurdle that they have is marketing. It's like it's something we can achieve. We sell these devices. We're going to be able to actually market them as well and get the message out there, what BlackBerry 10 has to offer. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap this up. We'll be back again next week for another Upstream. This is James with BerryFlow here, closing with Alex and Darius. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Peace.